This is McMurdo Station, the most populous and largest research station on the continent of Antarctica, the place that is most commonly compared to living on Mars. It has a population of over 2,300 people, but this drops to 250 during the winter time. Because of the cold, obviously, but also because this place becomes completely shrouded in darkness for several months. Not the most attractive place to live. Now compare this to waking up to a sight like this. Pretty stunning difference. Or perhaps something like this. Again, just remarkable. Or this tantalizing sight. And by the way, that mist is not artistic license. Seasonally, the morning sun evaporates ice crystals at the bottom of this faraway canyon and creates eerie sights like this. I am, of course, talking about the Valles Marineris on Mars, a place so gigantic it's difficult to comprehend it until you superimpose it over a map of the United States like we've done here. Now, I've seen the titanic beauty of the Grand Canyon many times, but look how completely insignificant it is when compared to its counterpart on Mars, with canyon walls that tower almost 25,000 feet high. But believe it or not, this is one of the places on Mars that we're considering building a self-sustaining colony. I mean, damn, what a place to live, work, or hell, even grow up. But is it possible? Why have we chosen this place? And can we really survive there? Good evening, and welcome to another episode of The Angry Astronaut. Tonight, I'm finally going to get back to an issue that I have a lot of passion for, that I've touched on briefly, but finally get back to it, and that's the colonization of Mars. It's a very controversial issue, but one that I think you know what my opinion is. But real quick, before we get to that particular issue, I need to talk about something else, and that's just the giveaway, something that I think you folks are very interested in. Now, we are stuck on 66 subscribers for some reason. I have 1,700 plus views, and over 80% of my views come from non-subscribers. I'm very, very honored that you are clicking on my videos, but I need 100 subscribers before I can give these away. And believe me, I really wish that I had given away this set already. Not only this one, but also the second prize as well. They are very cool. And in any event, I'm not going to deal any further with that as far as reasons as to why I think that might be happening. I'll deal with that in another video. But since the contest isn't over yet, there are still ways that you can seriously increase your chances of winning. For example, you can watch my Starlink video, which I made pretty much right before this one, count up the number of crescent moons that appear in that particular video, and email me the answers to how many you think there are. Even if you don't get it right, you're going to get extra entries into the giveaway, so please do that. As far as this video is concerned, I would like you to watch this video and then post your opinion in the comments as to whether or not we should settle in the Valles Marineris, as I think we should. If you agree with me, tell me why, and I'll give you 10 entries into the giveaway. If you do not agree with me, and you give me a decent reason, aside from the fact that, I'm a crazy moron in a mask or something like that, give me a well thought out reason as to why we should establish a base someplace else, and I'll give you 25 entries into the giveaway, almost guaranteeing that you're going to win something. So, in any event, 10 entries if you just post an opinion agreeing with me, or 25 if you post one that opposes me, as long as you back it up. So why the Valles Marineris? Well, for one thing, it's in the equatorial region of the planet. And it's at such a low altitude that the temperature can actually get to 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. In addition, because the canyon is so incredibly deep, the atmosphere is thicker, therefore providing greater protection against radiation. And we've detected evidence of subsurface geysers, therefore indicating the presence of water. Not only that, but also the possibility of microbial life. But let's be honest, it's the sheer beauty of this place that is its main draw. A place this gorgeous would draw not only exobiologists and geologists and scientists of every description, but also everyone else it would take to make a self-sustaining colony. Plus, the tourist trade wouldn't hurt either. But aren't the harsh conditions on the surface and the radiation going to force us to live in some kind of underground bunker where we'll never really get to enjoy this beautiful landscape? Well, believe it or not, no. A few years ago, NASA started a contest whereby several groups of engineers were pitted against one another to come up with an effective surface dwelling that would protect its inhabitants from all the unpleasant things that one can find on the surface of Mars. And just last year, there was a winner, and that winner's name was Marsha. Now, AI Space Factory did a much better job of describing this elegant building from an engineering perspective than I could. But nevertheless, I'm going to try to explain a few of its main features. First of all, the entire architecture, including the interior and the exterior, is based on a tall, cylindrical design, as that would be the easiest thing to 3D print. That was one of the requirements of the competition. As you can see here, designs like domes have a lot of wasted space, therefore making Marsha much more efficient and using a lot less material. And since the design is tall, it can be subdivided into quite a number of floors, each one for different uses. Whereas domes, when you divide them up, each individual space is smaller and has differing sizes. And also, as I mentioned before, this particular design is easy to 3D print, therefore requiring a much smaller machine and much less material. And here's something I really like: natural lighting throughout the structure via a skylight at the top and multiple windows, at least one on each floor. Now, how is this possible? And as this diagram demonstrates how the recirculated air system would work, I'm still asking myself, if it has windows, how do you keep out the radiation? Well, that's sheer genius in itself as well. The skylight is full of water and circulates water through all of the windows, and water is an excellent shield against background radiation and cosmic rays, which means you can have natural light and you can look out at the gorgeous landscape without being exposed to Mars' radiation. A beautiful design. And even though this particular building serves a scientific purpose with laboratories and greenhouses and that sort of thing, it feels like a home and less like a place where you're going to work. Each individual level having a elegant and beautiful and homey sort of feel to it to make your stay on Mars, no matter how long that might be, a much more pleasant experience. Here's the lovely top level with the skylight and plenty of exercise equipment. And there's the entire design in itself. This particular sequence refers to the construction of the building, 3D printed by an automated device before the colonists even arrive, utilizing materials that they find on the Martian surface. And that material is a basaltic kind of plastic, easily manufactured from the regolith on the Martian surface. It's a double-walled design and quite thick to keep out the hostile environment of Mars's atmosphere, radiation. And in the end, we don't have a lab, we don't have an office building, we have a home. And in case you're a super nerd like me, here's the interior layout. Airlock and garage complete with space suits and a Martian rover, not too different from the one I'm giving away. Next up is the dry lab and kitchen. Windows on every level, by the way, natural light and a view. And then we have the sleeping chambers, hydroponics for the food supply. And finally, the most important level, the skylight, recreation, and gymnasium to provide a place for relaxation for the inhabitants. Wonderful design. By the way, the designers of Marsha got $700,000. Very impressive. And hopefully that's what we end up using on the surface of Mars. But really, what did that all have to do with us inhabiting the deepest canyon in the solar system? Well, I think that it's going to be extremely important for anyone who colonizes another world to feel like that they are less of a prisoner inside wherever they are, because after all, you can't breathe the atmosphere outside, therefore you have to stay in much of the time, especially when the radiation is taken into account. But you don't want to feel like a prisoner, and if you have windows, especially panoramic windows, and a view on every level of a particularly gorgeous landscape, you're going to feel less like a prisoner and more like an adventurer, which is what we're going to be. And another thing I forgot to mention, because of the radiation protection that Marsha affords, and also because we'll be at the bottom of the Valles Marineris, or we may be there, the protection that that affords, we'll be able to venture outside of our homes at least 9 hours a week and possibly more every week to explore on the surface. Every single week, at least 9 hours without hitting the maximum amount of recommended radiation for a human being for 60 years. 60 years. So, given 9 hours a week to explore the Valles Marineris, anybody could spend their entire lifetime exploring that vast area and not even come close to covering it all. Exploring it for geological reasons, or looking in the nooks and crannies and caves of that vast canyon trying to find signs of life, which would be a breakthrough unlike anything our science has ever discovered. That's what going to Mars is all about. And that's why Marsha, and that's why the Valles Marineris and things like it are going to make this so much of an adventure for the human species. So, we need to debunk the whole notion that this is impossible, that it's impractical, and that we don't belong there, because we do. So, until we've established ourselves on Mars, stay angry about space.